in countless ways. Today, across the world, people observe World Cancer Day. The day raises awareness about cancer, encourages its prevention, and calls for action to address the global epidemic. This year's theme, United by Unique, placing people at the center of care and exploring new ways of making a difference. A doctor we spoke with at OSF St. Anthony's says that they really do place people at the center.
This is the situation we have. This person's this years old, you know, they have this other medical problems and things like that. No two cases are alike. So we take everything that's going on within their lives, as well as their disease and the imaging and all the testing, to make a decision to say, okay, this is the best treatment recommendation for this individual.
And tune in tonight on 13 News at 6. We'll hear from a survivor who is helping to make a difference. New at 5, investigators analyzing Friday's deadly Learjet crash in Philadelphia have recovered the plane's voice data recorder. The National Transportation Safety Board released a photo of the recorder, sometimes called a black box. Friday night, a medical jet crashed in northeast Philadelphia. 7 people were killed and at least 24 others were injured. The plane took off from northeast Philadelphia Airport and was in the air for less than a minute before the crash. The trade war with China is closer to reality as the two largest economies exchange tit-for-tat tariffs. The question is, can the two sides find common ground before American consumers see rising prices? NBC's senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the story from Washington.
The U.S. and China have just days to avoid a trade war, or Americans' pocketbooks could be hit hard. China announcing next week it'll impose a tariff on energy imports, as well as some U.S. products.
It's fine. We're going to do very well against China and against everybody else.
That retaliation comes just minutes after President Trump's 10% tariff on all Chinese imports took effect. China imposing a 15% import tax on coal and liquefied natural gas, as well as a 10% tariff on crude oil, farm equipment, and various cars and trucks. And taking aim at electronics, announcing export controls on rare earths, elements essential to all high-tech products, infrared missiles, and electric car batteries. President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping now expected to talk soon.
We'll speak to him at the appropriate time. I'm in no rush.
Leaders of the world's largest economies both looking for leverage in a standoff that could have staggering global impacts. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's federal aid freeze and dismantling of the U.S. Agency for International Development causing confusion among those who help people in need and sparking protests.
It's not disrupting, it's destruction. And it's destruction that means that people will suffer across the country.
He promised it during his campaign. Tonight, Americans across the country and leaders around the world are feeling what the president calls his America First agenda firsthand.
President Trump, meanwhile, meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his first visit with a foreign leader since taking office, amid an ongoing ceasefire with a hostage release with Hamas. Now, the White House is preparing an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education, 2 sources tell NBC News. Now, one source says the order could come as soon as this month, while a separate source says the order will state the White House will oversee the submission of proposed legislation to the Congress to effectuate closure of the department. Now, that source adds the goal is for the legislation to have the authority and responsibility of the department be handed to states and local districts. Legal experts say the president does not have the authority to abolish a federal agency created by Congress. Well, soaring egg prices have hit Waffle House. The diner chain announced it'll be adding a 50-cent surcharge to all egg items on the menu. The surcharge went into effect yesterday at its more than 2,000 locations. In a statement, Waffle House said the price hike is temporary due to an egg shortage caused by the spread of bird flu. In the past year, the average price for a dozen eggs in the U.S. has jumped 50%. More than 13 million hens have been lost or slaughtered since December following bird flu outbreaks, according to the Agriculture Department's latest egg markets overview. Well, a new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that high school students spend a quarter of their school day on their cell phones while they're supposed to be in classes and learning. Researchers say it supports the efforts of lawmakers to ban smartphones in schools. Greg Sergel reports.
It's really no secret. Kids use their cell phones a lot. But a new study puts a number on just how much cell phones are used every day in school. It's an average of about 90 minutes.
That's almost a quarter of the school day that they're not actively learning, reading, writing.
Stony Brook University professor Lauren Hale led a 5-month-long study just published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. It followed 120 teens ages 13 to 18. Those teens agreed to install an app on their phones, and that allowed researchers the rare opportunity to collect direct data on cell phone use.
We're publishing this is because there isn't a lot of data on it, and governors and policymakers are concerned about this topic.
Some schools, however, like Nessequake Middle School in St. James, already ban cell phones.
They put their phone in and they would lock it.
That policy of locking up phones every day has now been in place for roughly 4 months.
Kids just seem to be talking more and interacting more.
Nessequake principal Dan McCabe likes what he's seeing, and students like 8th grader Thomas Kratz notice a difference too.
There's a lot more conversations, a lot of people more participate in class.
Cell phone bans still have their critics, especially parents who want to reach their kids at a moment's notice. The Stony Brook researchers are hoping their new study will add clarity to the ongoing debate.
I'm concerned that our precious school hours are being distracted by digital devices.
And back at home, after Rockford was named the hottest housing market by 2 different organizations, the city is working to address the need for more housing, approving 2 new projects at last night's city council meeting. A mixture of senior living, luxury, and affordable units will be coming to locations on South Main, Harrison, and Express Lane. And Urban Equity will also redevelop a building on the corner of Main and Elm Streets, working to bring it back to life after around 50 years of vacancy, and bringing retail space alongside units.
It just adds a nice flair to the building, and also it's great for the community. We keep businesses on the ground floor. It helps the tenants in the building. At the same time, it's great for the community. It activates the building properly.
And coming up on 13 News at 6, more on the other housing project, how it's set to bring different types of units across the city. Well, February is Black History Month, and we're shining a spotlight on people making an impact in our community. Nonprofit group Touching Souls was founded by Rockford native Marquez Beeks about 8 years ago. His goal is to spread a message of love and positivity to kids, all through his love of shoes. Last week, he handed out 60 pairs of shoes to Lincoln Middle School kids. He goes around the country doing this, but coming home is always special.
I love coming back home because just the love and the aura I get from home, just from top to bottom, everybody, shows support here back home. And if I can do anything in the world, is to come back home and big up my own community just as much as I do everywhere else, but home is home.
Tune into 13 News at 6 as we show you how Beeks has grown this organization and what it really means to him to give back. Well, coming up, Luka Doncic makes his post-trade debut in the City of Angels. Coming up, how he found out and who he's already heard from. Plus, retaliatory tariffs from China, where Americans may need to pinch some pennies. And our first look at a replacement bridge in Baltimore, nearly a year after the dramatic collapse of the Key Bridge was caught on camera.
And a wintry mix will hit the area tomorrow afternoon, so those ducks in the river may have a hard time swimming with all that ice and snow on the way. We track that threat of freezing rain, snow, and sleet, and what we could face as we go into tomorrow evening. As for impacts, that's all ahead in a busy forecast.
China is hitting back on President Trump's tariffs. The back and forth between the world's two largest economies could put the American consumer in the middle. Karen Kafa is in Washington with what consumers need to know.
The day after Mexico and Canada negotiated respective 30-day pauses on President Donald Trump's proposed 25% tariffs on their goods coming into the U.S.
We've found a good, I think, accommodation here, and we're going to be showing progress over the next 30 days.
Trump's 10% tariff on all goods coming to the U.S. from China took effect after midnight on Tuesday, and Beijing pushed back with tariffs on some U.S. energy and metals imports. The moves elevating trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. And eventually, the American consumer could get caught in the middle.
I think it's a lose-lose. It's just a question of how big the loss. It raises prices, raises inflation, and of course, we've been through a very wrenching period globally with high inflation. It's been a real problem.
Among items that could see higher prices, consumer electronics like phones, TVs, and computers, toys, jewelry, silverware, and sporting equipment, and shoes and sneakers imported in large numbers from China. The real impact will be felt once businesses deplete their current warehouse stock and need to bring in more, unless the U.S. and China strike a deal soon. Democrats note that tariffs don't align with the economic relief Trump promised in his 2024 campaign.
Tariffs will undoubtedly drive up costs. You shared some of those numbers earlier, and people are living paycheck to paycheck. This is the opposite of what Trump ran on and what the American people want.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
And new details from the site of last week's deadly midair collision over the Potomac River. The remains of all 67 victims have been recovered. 66 people have been positively identified. Crews have also pulled parts of the plane's cockpit and tail out of the water. Tomorrow, operations will shift to recovering wreckage from the Black Hawk helicopter. It's been almost a year since a cargo ship crashed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing it to collapse. Now, today, Maryland Governor Wes Moore and state officials unveiled the new design. Moore says it honors the architectural tradition of the original Key Bridge.
Our new bridge will also be constructed in accordance with the most advanced industrial standards and also the very best in infrastructure design.
Well, pre-construction started last month on the $2 billion project. The rebuild is expected to be complete by the fall of 2028.
As we head into tomorrow evening, be ready for slick roads and possibly some icy impacts. So you may have gotten an alert on your phone from the 13 WREX weather app. If you don't have it, download it for free. It's got radar, it's got these alerts. It'll definitely guide you through tomorrow's events. So winter weather advisories will be in effect for northern Illinois for freezing rain mixed with snow and sleet as of tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. If you're in northwest Illinois, so this does include Freeport, noon to 9 is when you'll see the majority of the impacts. And then the rest of northern Illinois, it's 3 p.m. tomorrow to 6 a.m. Thursday morning. So that combination of freezing rain, snow, and sleet, even if you end up with just one of those precipitation types, it's enough to really cause you to slow down. So be ready for some slippery weather into tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. If you're in southern Wisconsin, it's most likely snow and sleet. So still looking at some slick spots, but you don't have that icing on top of that adding to the impacts. All of that adds up to cause some slippery roads. If we do see mostly freezing rain across northern Illinois, that may be enough to knock down some tree branches. So that ice definitely adds some weight to those structures, which is why you start to see all sorts of little branches and things fall down under the weight of that ice. Now, no iciness just yet. It's definitely feeling icy with temperatures around 22, wind chill around 13 for the next several hours under a cloudy sky. Tonight remaining quiet and dry too. It gets brisk. We're down to 20 for a low, wind chills dipping into the single digits. So tomorrow morning looking chilly, but we don't have to worry about any kind of icy conditions tomorrow morning just yet. It's tomorrow afternoon and evening when that icy weather settles in with that wintry mix around the corner. And here's why we're seeing a wintry mix. So at the surface, we're below freezing, which is why most likely we don't see regular rain showers. There's this little layer of warm air above the surface though, so that's either going to keep these showers falling as rain because it's melted, or it melts and then refreezes briefly, which is why we see some sleet mixing in. So that's exactly why we're seeing these variety of precipitation types. Enough warm air above us to cause some melting before it gets to the surface, rather than just straight frozen precipitation in the form of snow. So you can see that reflected here. Early in this little event tomorrow, may have some spotty snow showers, so the air above us still pretty cold for snow. Might just be some flurries or a dusting here. And then as some warmer air arrives, we've got regular rain showers south of I-88. North of I-88, it's that freezing rain and snow because as everything's falling, it's briefly melting before freezing upon the ground surface. So tomorrow evening especially is when we'll see the majority of the slick conditions. That all heads out as we head into early Thursday morning. We're then dry over the rest of the week. So be prepared for that freezing rain threat, icing building up on the roads, on those tree branches, and the farther north you go, the more likely you'll see some snow and sleet mix in, causing less icing buildup, but more in the way of snow and sleet causing some slick conditions. All that said, we get to Wednesday night, we're drying out. Thursday may start to see that ice melt as we get above freezing. And then keep an eye on Saturday. That's when we do see a chance for some snow. May even see a little freezing rain mix in with that event too, so we're keeping an eye on Saturday. After that, the weather gets colder for the end of the weekend and beyond. In your most accurate 10-day forecast, we've got a chilly stretch starting up into the end of next week. Plenty of days in the 20s, if not colder, so be ready for some brisk weather after this weekend. And that's the Look at Your Weather forecast. We'll be right back.
New at 5, the newest Los Angeles Laker has officially joined the team. Luka Doncic speaking out for the first time today after that late-night trade that sent shockwaves through the league.
I mean, everybody was surprised, so you can imagine how surprised I was. I was almost asleep, so when I got a call, I had to check it was April 1st. I didn't really believe it at first, and it was a bit shock. It was hard moments for me. It was home.
And Luka won his first scoring title last season before leading the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals. He has not played since Christmas because of a calf strain, but is expected to return soon. Should be interesting to see how he and LeBron team up. Well, President Donald Trump is expected to attend the Super Bowl at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans Sunday. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Louisiana native, is in talks to join Trump, although the guest list is still being prepared. The Super Bowl always has a high security presence, even when the president is not there, but a source said preparations have been heightened ahead of Donald Trump's attendance. And the Super Bowl this Sunday also means some cool freebie offers for people and their pets. Among them, national online pet retailer Chewy is giving away 59,000 treats for birds, dogs, and cats. That's if the Eagles beat the Chiefs. Now, if they win, the company will release a promo code redeemable on its website. And Buffalo Wild Wings is offering 6 free wings on February 24th if the big game goes into overtime. B-Dubs says they gave away more than 2.5 million wings after the game went into overtime last year. So who doesn't want some free wings, right?
I think all of the pets across America are now big Eagles fans, and they're also rooting for overtime because I'm sure it's like, all right, if I can get some free treats and toys out of this, plus maybe a wing, I creep up to the table and steal that quick, they'll be, set for life.
Not a bad deal right there. All right, thanks for watching 13 News at 5. We'll be back at 6.